Welcome to Trainspotting. In this programme, Steve travels to Germany for a very privileged look at a purpose-built test track, while I enjoy some breathtaking coastal scenery. Firstly, on the Paignton to Dartmouth steam railway, and then around the more rugged terrain of the Cumbrian coastline. And why does Alderney, an island only 3 miles long, need its own railway? There aren't many heritage railways in the UK that I haven't been to, but this is one of them. It's the Paignton and Dartmouth steam railway. They tell me that this coast-hugging line to Kingswear rises from sea level to 200 feet and then back down again across some of South Devon's most breathtaking countryside. Last year, 350,000 visitors travelled on this line, so there must be something to it. Kitchenside, you're a travel assistant here on the Paignton and Dartmouth steam railway. What's the history behind the line?
Well, the line was originally promoted in the late 1850s by a local company, the Dartmouth and Torbay Railway, to link up with the then South Devon Railway branch coming down from Newton Abbot to Torquay. The line was eventually opened right through from Tor, which was the original terminus of the line from Newton Abbot, from Tor right through to Kingswear in 1864.
Because this line has never really closed, has it? I mean, the day that it stopped operating through BR, you took it over.
That's right, yes. The section on from Paignton to Kingswear was never really profitable, certainly in the last 50 years of mainline railway ownership. And British Railways pulled out at the end of 1972, and we took over the following day.
So you're quite lucky then having a mainline connection at Paignton.
Well, that's right. We get quite a lot of our traffic off the through trains from London, from the Midlands and North, and so on, coming into Paignton, and they come on from Paignton to Kingswear on our railway.
Now, after we've left Paignton, then what's the first stop?
The first stop is Goodrington Sands. Once you're past Goodrington, you've got views of the beach, and the train starts climbing because we have to cross over the ridge of hills between Paignton and Kingswear, with a summit nearly 200 feet above sea level. So it takes quite a severe climb, almost 2.5 miles at 1 in 67, which is quite a steep gradient for our trains, which can often load up to 10 coaches.
Now, what have we got on the front today hauling us up the gradient at the moment?
The locomotive today is British Railway Standard Class 4 460, number 75014, named Braveheart. Why Braveheart? It worked on the West Highland line for a few years, on heritage trains up there between Fort William and Mallaig.
Now, you run the locomotive boiler first to Kingswear, and then is there a turntable there and it turns round, or what?
No, we run the locomotives facing the same way most of the time. We do turn them occasionally to even out the wheel wear, but we certainly don't turn them between journeys. Some are facing towards Kingswear, some are facing towards Paignton. So it depends which one you have, whether it's chimney first to Kingswear or chimney first to Paignton.
Now, this coach that we're in at the moment, the Devon Bell, is it an old Pullman carriage?
Yes, it goes right back to 1917, or at least parts of it do. It was originally built as an ambulance coach at the end of the First World War. Then it became a Pullman car in the 1920s, and had a new body. And then again it was rebuilt just after the Second World War, and from 1947 it assumed its present form as an observation car, and it was used on the Devon Bell Pullman train from Waterloo to Ilfracombe.
Now, after we've got to the top of the summit here, is it all the way down to Kingswear?
Yes, once you leave Churston, the line starts dropping. The gradients are a bit steeper in places there, but it's partly 1 in 60, partly 1 in 100, varying according to where the line is.
And of course, as you come down into Kingswear now, it really hugs the side of the River Dart, doesn't it?
That's right. When you get down to Britannia Crossing, the line is almost at river level, and for the last mile it runs into Kingswear right alongside the River Dart.
Now, when passengers do take the train from Paignton to Kingswear, they can also use the boats and the buses that you have as well.
Yes, there's basically 4 different excursions you can do on our train. 2 of them just using the train, basically. The other 2 combined trip, including the trips on the River Dart. And I think it's fair to say, without the railway, Dartmouth would not be the popular town that it is at the moment because of the difficulty of getting cars there. Of course, there's one interesting factor about our railway and our operation generally. Dartmouth has always had a railway station and originally had a station master and staff, but it never saw a train because it's across the other side of the River Dart. River Dart is a major obstacle to the railway.
So there was the station built, but no line for it.
No line for it.
So here we are at Kingswear Station at the end of the line, and as far as terminus stations go, it's probably one of the most idyllic you'll find in the whole of the United Kingdom. Paignton and Dartmouth Steam Railway, I can now tick you off and give you 10 out of 10.
Now, you might be forgiven for thinking that I'm in a maintenance depot somewhere in deeper South London. Well, you'd be wrong. I'm actually at Europe's leading train test facility, and it's where Zeros can find themselves sitting next to one of the world's most advanced passenger trains. The Wildenrat site just outside Cologne was built by Siemens in 1997 to help develop the high-speed ICE fleet that had been commissioned by Deutsche Bahn, the German rail operator. As you can imagine, trying to schedule the tests required for the new trains into an already busy German network was proving impossible. And so successful has it proved that as well as using the centre to test their own products, Siemens now offer the facility to other manufacturers and operators. Rudy Hilgers has been the technical manager here since it was first opened.
This was an old airport used by the British Army, and on this area we built the whole test center. At first, the large test track, it has a length of 6 kilometers and it allows speed up to 100 miles per hour. And then we built a little test track, it has 2.5 kilometers in length and allows speed up to 62 miles per hour.
These tracks have allowed Rudy and his team to develop an extensive test program. This includes endurance tests, which historically have always been one of the most difficult things to schedule onto a mainline network. Soundproofing and noise emission tests can be carried out against fairly constant background levels. And although the test site is very flat, they found a clever way to simulate gradients. This is done by attaching a brake locomotive to the loco under test, thus creating the effect of a never-ending incline. As well as the work done on the track, areas have been developed to enable very specific static tests, such as here, where the individual axle weights can be measured, as well as the tolerances in the bogies. The larger workshop areas also allow onboard functions, such as communications and air conditioning, to be checked as part of customer acceptance. And as Rudy explains, the Wildenrat facility now plays host to a very wide variety of trains.
We have trains for long distance, the ICE train, and we have a lot of trams here, subways, for all over the world.
So everything from a tram to an ICE here, you can take it all?
Yes.
Of particular interest to us was that the new Zero fleet, built in Germany by Siemens for Southwest Trains, is currently undergoing its final QC here at Wildenrat, prior to being delivered to the UK. Klaus Flohr, you're the project manager for all the Zeros being tested here in Germany.
Yes, indeed.
We're on one now. What are we looking for? What are you testing?
Well, at the moment we are doing special testing regarding the influence of the electrical power of the train to the power supply of the rail track. This test is proceeded according to a special procedure, which means we are starting from a static train, accelerate up to 10 miles, then have neutral gear for 5 seconds, brake for 5 seconds, acceleration for 10 seconds, and repeat the whole procedure again up to a speed of 80 miles per hour.
And what about some of the other tests that you're carrying out?
Here in Wildenrat are basically done 95% of all the tests which are necessary to run the train in the UK. So, for example, the functionality of battery, engine, the motor itself. The bogies are inspected again. The bogies are inspected after dynamic testing as well. Water testing, which means we are running the train through a kind of washing machine and putting water in a defined amount on the train, look in if the air condition is okay, the doors are okay. And the most complicated and most important test is at least the brake test. We have different places to plug in the measurement equipment. All the failures and the actions running in the train are monitored, and we can analyze them after the test run.
And what happens when all the tests are completed?
If the tests are completed, we present the train to the customer. He's doing a customer acceptance with an additional functional test. If this is successful, we can ship the train. This unit, for example, will be shipped on Friday this week.
So once it leaves here, you're happy with it and the customer's happy with it?
Yes, definitely. We are not allowed to ship a train if the customer is not happy. Definitely not.
Now don't worry, this is still train spotting, it's just that I've come a bit further afield. I've taken the 45-minute flight to Alderney, which is the third largest of the Channel Islands, and it's got its own railway, which runs 2/3 the length of the island, which is only 3.5 miles long. Intriguing. Tony LeBlanc, you're chairman of the Alderney Railway Society. Why was there a need for a railway on an island that's only 3 miles long?
Good question. We've got a quarry up there, a harbour over there, and it was a question of conveying the rock from the quarry to the harbour. Come on board and I'll take you down to have a look at the harbour.
So we've left the train back there. It brought the stone down from the quarry to the harbour to build this. I mean, this is huge. What exactly is it?
Well, it's a breakwater that was built in 1847. It's 990 yards long. It was considerably longer originally, but it got breached in the early years. And its purpose essentially was to create a harbour for Alderney, because the whole thing was built with a view to trying to create a Gibraltar of the English Channel, because Cherbourg's just around the corner, and in those days we weren't too friendly with the French.
So once the railway had helped build this, its purpose didn't end there then?
No, not at all. It was a situation where we had ongoing maintenance for the breakwater. We had the construction of the Victorian forts that you see all around the north coast of the island.
But it's now used by yourselves as a preserve line?
Very much so, but unfortunately not on the breakwater itself.
No, it stops just over there.
That's right.
We came down from Bray Road. It's not the only part of the line, is it?
No, not at all. We've got a 2.5 mile run all the way up to the quarry, and we'd like to take you up there a little bit later on.
Now, these wouldn't have been used to tip stone into the sea. What have you got here? This is tube stock.
This is tube stock. It's 1959 tube stock, and somebody's got to preserve it, haven't they?
Well, quite so, but why tube stock on the line?
Well, for a start, it's fairly easy to transport over to Alderney. Fortunately, in the past, the Army have helped us to get these over. It's quite interesting insofar as it's part of the set that was put together for the centenary of the Northern Line. And the livery that we've got apparently is 1920s livery.
It's not the first lot of tube stock you've got, though.
No, the first lot were 1938 stock, which we acquired in 1987, but unfortunately, because they're of a steel construction, we found that they were rotting through. As you can see, Alderney, loads of salt air, doesn't go too well with steel. Great thing about the 59 stock is that we're actually thinking in terms of aluminium bodies. All right, we've still got a steel underframe, but that's been built to last. So we're hoping these will be around for a long time.
And what are we being pulled by?
We're being pulled by 040 diesel mechanical Elizabeth. It's built at the Vulcan Foundry in 1949, and it spent all its working life there, and it was named after the works nurse, which was rather nice. And we got it over in 1985.
The track runs, as we've established, from the quarry to the harbour. Where do we pass through?
Well, at the moment we're going up alongside Bray Bay, but we're going through a bit of a residential area, and as we go a bit further up we'll get into the open countryside and we'll get some good views of the sea.
And how do you work the line? I mean, it's not the most user-friendly line, is it? I mean, there's a lot of crossings here.
Very much so. Single token. And I suppose it's probably one of the few railways in the world where we're prepared to give away to cars and lorries if necessary.
It is a real hybrid, though, when you see it going past. Diesel loco, tube rolling stock.
Can't understand why London Underground never took it up as an option.
I've got to say, it's the most scenic northern line I've ever been on. So this is the quarry end of the line then, Tony. This is where they got all the rock from.
That's right, and that's the reason for the railway. They used to blast the rock out over there, load it onto the trucks, take it down to the breakwater.
What's that thing up on the hill?
Well, that's quite interesting. We call it the Odeon. It's
Right.
1930s architecture, if ever there was. But essentially, it was a German fire control point during World War II. As you probably know, the Germans occupied the Channel Islands, and Alderney was totally evacuated during World War II. And so that now represents a bit of history, I suppose.
I see why you call it the Odeon. What have you got in the shed?
Well, that's our engine shed, and we've got in there Molly, the diesel locomotive that used to work on the breakwater, which we occasionally use for shunting, and we've got our Wickham rail car set. And if you fancy a trip on the Wickhams, we can take you down to the harbour now.
So tell us a bit about these then, Tony.
Well, the Wickham rail cars that we've got here are the mainstay of our fleet. They were the original cars that we brought over back in the late 70s to run the Alderney Railway. We've got here a 4-car rake which we use on a Saturday during the season, and as you can see, the 2 middle cars are fully air conditioned, and quite honestly, on a day like this is the way to experience the Alderney Railway and the gorgeous scenery of Alderney.
So I've been to the Kyle of Lochalsh in Scotland. I've also travelled on the Cumbrian coastline in Wales. And I thought to myself, where is there a line in England that combines both the beauty of the mountains and the sea? Well, there can only be one, and it is the Cumbrian coastline. Now, if you're going to travel the length and breadth of the Cumbrian coastline, then I must really recommend you either start or finish at Carnforth Station. This was used as the location for the film Brief Encounter, starring Celia Johnson and Trevor Howard, with its final goodbye scene underneath the famous clock, which is still there today, restored to its former glory. Between Carnforth and Barrow, the line curves around Morecambe Bay to the Edwardian resort of Grange-over-Sands with its listed railway station. Then over Cartmel Sands, through Ulverston and into Barrow, where I joined Alan Headley, a travel advisor at First North Western and an expert on the line. So Alan, why was the line built in the first place?
It was originally built in 1844 in 2 parts. The Furness Railway got permission to build the original line from Dalton to the south of Barrow up to Kirby to serve the iron ore and slate mines to bring it into the coast of Barrow. Then the Whitehaven Junction Railway came in 1845 to build a line from Whitehaven through to Kirby to serve the local iron ore, minerals and coal mines. The line links most of the rural villages and coastal areas along the coast. Most of all at the moment is leisure use with the year-on-year increase in tourists.
Now we've left Barrow. Barrow was a centre for shipbuilding industry. What's its main use now? What happens there now?
Unfortunately, like most industries on the Cumbrian coast, it's not as healthy as it used to be 10, 20, 30, up to 40 years ago. Shipbuilding has demised in Barrow to next to nothing. And going on up the coast, the last mine that used to be served by the rail was closed in 1986, which was at Whitehaven. And the steel industry at Workington has also declined to near on nothing.
Now we're just coming into Foxfield. Explain what happened at Foxfield.
Well, just south of Foxfield, the Whitehaven and Furness Junction Railway were planning to build a bridge across the Duddon Estuary. Because of the cost involved, they decided to build a railway around the estuary, which involved an extra 8.5-mile journey between Barrow and Carlisle. And just one more thing about Foxfield, it's the only pub in the county where they actually make their own independent beer on premises. Yeah, we get a lot travelling to Foxfield. And so, well, where are they going to Foxfield? And it was only till a short time ago I found out they actually make their own beer on there. So.
We'll surely be approaching Ravenglass, Alan. That's famous for its narrow gauge railway, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's called the Ratty locally. It was originally built in 1875 to transport hermitite from Boot to the coast, and it's just gone on to one of Cumbria's top tourist attractions at the moment.
Thank you. You're going all the way to the top, are you?
gone past Sellafield. Quite a few engines were stationed in the depot there.
Currently in the fleet, I've got class 20s, 33s, 37s, and newly acquired 266s, I believe.
How do British Nuclear Fuels and the railway work in conjunction with each other?
The one main company, which is actually part owned by British Nuclear Fuels, is Direct Rail Services. They run flask tankers daily from Sellafield. That's the main freight industry at the moment. And then we have the Enterprise train, which runs out of Workington Docks.
Oh, so there's still some at Workington as well?
There is, yeah. There's one that runs out of Workington Docks.
One thing I do like about the line is the irony, I suppose you could say, between a nuclear power plant and the green power you have with these windmills up and down the coast.
It's a mixed response from the local council community. One half wants it, one half doesn't want it. But there's nowhere that it comes to a decision to say, yes, we want it, no, we don't want it.
With the infrastructure on the line as well, does the sea do much damage? When you've got a severe storm, does that damage the line?
Fortunately, Network Rail have spent quite a lot of money dealing with the sea defences. Last year, they spent quite a considerable lot of money to secure the future of the line.
And what passenger services run? I mean, we're on a one-car unit at the moment.
Right.
What other units run?
Currently northbound, we have 153 units, 156, and the occasional 142s.
What's wrong with the 142?
Well, I wouldn't have a full breakfast if you couldn't listen on a 142.
Right, okay. So how would you sum up the Cumbrian coastline, Alan?
Really, it's scenery. You've got mountains, coast, beaches, historic towns and harbours. It's past history with its industry. I mean, it's current freight use, so it's not just a passenger network. Close to the national park, I think it's just attractive in one. It's one scenic railway.
You know, Alderney looked really nice. Looked like you had a really good time.
Oh, we did. It was brilliant, Mark. And you know that old saying, every man is an island, and I reckon if you were one, you'd be Rockall. Old, hard and craggy. If I were one, I reckon I'd be...
Silly.